AP, good to see you guys. Um, we are going to be reviewing book one, lines 418 to 440 today. So if you guys can make sure you remember to do those some review questions I'll have up there on LMS for you. Um, and then for tomorrow we'll finish book one. It is a longer section. I'm just trying to chunk it how they do on the AP site. So that's how I'm kind of doing these sections. So tomorrow's one is longer. So I'm sorry about that, but it's just kind of how it goes, I guess. But this is a short one today. So 418 to 440. So we've got a bit of a break in the text. So we did lines 1 to 209. And then it breaks off, and we're missing about 200 lines here. So just kind of a reminder what happened there. One of the main things that happens is Aeneas and his friend Achates go kind of exploring the land, and they meet up with they meet Venus, but she is in disguise as a huntress, and she kind of gives them the bit of backstory on Dido and Carthage and kind of all that sort of stuff. So you get to see a little bit of where Dido comes from and some of her story. She has a murderous brother who killed Dido's husband. Dido's husband's ghost kind of tells her where some buried treasure is, and she takes that with fellow, would later Carthaginians, and flees, and they reach Carthage, and then Venus cloaks Aeneas and Achates in a cloud of mist. And that's kind of where we are here on line 418, and they're approaching Carthage in a cloud of mist. All right. So this first line is I kind of like it. They snatched up the road, the way. Meanwhile, where the path shows. It's kind of like they're making their way downtown, as it were. Okay, and then you get this picture of Aeneas looking at this city in the making, and you've got some nice anaphora and asyndeton lines 421, 422. So miratur, and then no conjunction between them. Okay. Also, that word, I remember seeing something about that word Magalia, formerly hovels, formerly huts, being a rather kind of rare word. As he's looking at this city that used to be just kind of really ramshackle, and now it's kind of turning into a really beautiful, modern, nice civilization, really. And you see Aeneas, he sees a lot of different aspects of kind of city life, and what it is to be civilized, what it is to be a city, to be a state. So just a couple things. I mean, he sees the what used to be huts, so now they're building houses. He sees portas, he sees gates. He sees he marvels at the streptum, the noise, the uproar, the paths of the roads, and then he sees these Tyrians, people from Tyre, because Carthage was a settlement of Tyre. Tyre and Sidon. So sometimes they're used interchangeably. They are different cities, but they're closely connected. Okay, so you've got some that are extending the walls, okay, and then you've got some that are working on the citadel, some that are rolling up rocks. You've got some that are choosing a place for a house and laying a foundation. So you've got all these building projects going on. All right. And then you have there's another aspect that's very important to a city. It's not just the external infrastructure. That's probably the wrong terminology. It's not just the infrastructure that you can, the things that you can see, the buildings and all that. Line 426, I think, is very important. So they're choosing laws and magistrates and a sacred senate. Okay, so that's also they're not just a people that can build stuff. They are a people that is bound by law and order. So that's also very important. Okay, and then kind of goes on. You've got some people that are digging out ports. Okay, so Carthage was a port town, and Carthage was extremely, extremely wealthy eventually, and well known for their trade and everything and all that. So, and they shipped things all over the Mediterranean. Very, very wealthy. And then you see this, they're laying foundations for a theater. Okay, so they've got the arts going on, cutting out columns for that, and backdrops for future scenes, decorations for future scenes. So you see, there's a lot going on, and they're not just a one faceted group of people. So they're not just builders, they're not just lawgivers, they're not just arts people. They have all this encompassing. And then line 430, we get this very famous epic simile about the bee's knees, as it were. And these Carthaginians are likened to bees in the early summer, that are all busy at their work. All right. And it's a nice analogy too, because bees are very, very diligent creatures, for the most part, and they produce something that is very precious and very sweet, and I think that's a appropriate kind of simile analogy for these Carthaginians. They're not they're not just at work to be at work. They're producing something that is very important and precious. Okay. And then line 437. This is just a really powerful line. You can really see Aeneas's his heart and his longing. O fortunate ones whose walls are now rising. All right, so Aeneas is at this point. He's been he's been journeying for quite a few years, and he really is just longing for a city for his people, and he's longing for a home. I think it's a very human sentiment. And he's continues to marvel at the city. And then I love those last two lines, 339, or 439, 440. So he, enclosed in a nebula, in a cloud, he carries himself in through the midst. Marvelous to say. There's that supine there, that ablative supine, and he mixes with the men, and he is not He's not discerned. He's not recognized by any. All right, so he's in their midst, but they don't know him. All right, and this is obviously not. It's not a scriptural thing by any means, but it just, that line really kind of strikes me as very reminiscent. This might not be the right word, but likening to Christ. You know how he came. John, in the Gospel, John says he came to his own, and his own received him not. So he came and dwelt among us. But as many as did receive him, to those he gave the power to become sons of God. Now, again, of course, Virgil is pre-Christian, and he was not by any means referencing Christ or anything, but it's just kind of something that reminded me of. All right, so those are lines 418 to 440. As always, let me know if you have any questions about grammar or anything like that. On these, I'm not focusing a lot on grammar and stuff. I'm just kind of looking big picture, and then some of the kind of certain things I find rather interesting. But let me know if as you're reviewing it, if you do have questions on grammar or anything like that, and I'll be happy to help you out if I can. So I love you guys, and we'll do rest of book 1 for tomorrow. So hope you guys have a great day.